And thank all of you. I feel very honored to be here, especially since I'm not an after-school guy. But we do work with after-school programs in Philadelphia and some national programs, and I'm hopeful that some of the things that I'm going to talk about today, you will be making the translation in your head. My sense listening to the last few speakers is that we're sort of all on the same river, moving in the same way toward the same goals, and within that river there's some different streams. And so what you're going to hear from me is one particular stream that is really based on work with thousands of K-12 teachers all across the country, in urban districts, suburban districts, rural districts, rich districts, poor districts. So, how many of you went to elementary school in California? All right. Does that look familiar? Do you remember the 4th grade? This may look like sugar cubes, but these are adobe blocks. That wasn't my mission. My mission was made of adobe blocks and will hold glue. But Mrs. Martin, my 4th grade teacher, she worked with us for about a month because everybody does projects. All teachers do projects. And we did tracing and worksheets, and we read the textbook, and we saw film strips. And she promised us that if we paid attention, studied hard, and did well on the quizzes, there'd be a project at the end. And we would get to build our own mission. And we were delighted. And so I went home, and this was before the days of Michael's, when you can go down aisle 3 and buy your mission kit for $12.95. They even sell lights you can put on the mission. And little Father Junipero Cerro dolls. But all I had was sugar cubes. So I had probably the ugliest mission you've ever seen. Well, we don't think that's a project. We think that's a waste of time. I had to write 2 3x5 cards about my mission. All the learning had been done. This was just a little reward for the kiddies, right? What would have happened instead of wasting all that time gluing sugar cubes? The teacher had presented us with the following document. Dear keepers of the missions of Alta California, the church would like to establish another mission, the 22nd, somewhere beyond the one in Sonoma. Please tell us exactly where you think the mission should be located and what it should look like, based on your knowledge of the area. How about that as a way to learn about missions? How far should it be from the Sonoma mission? Well, how far were the other ones? How will it support the brothers that are there? What's the agriculture that one usually finds around missions? What's the relationship of the mission to the settlers that are there? What about the indigenous people? And how about a little geometry? How do I build a roof? What's it going to look like? How am I going to lay out the rooms? Is there a status hierarchy in the mission? Do some rooms have to be bigger than others? Does everybody have to get to the chapel? Does there have to have rooms for the Indians that they are making cook? My point is that in schools today, everyone says they do projects. But really, they do projects as dessert. The main course is done through traditional education created in 1847. What would it mean if we thought of projects as the main course, as the way you learn, as what school does? Projects as the 21st century unit. What would that look like? What would it require? I'm going to spend 5 minutes telling you what we think it would require. We have an organizing framework we call the essential elements. We found it very useful in helping teachers to think about how you design a project. Now, I'm not getting into management, I'm not getting into assessment. There's tons of tactical day-to-day decisions that are important, that have to be planned out, that matter. But I'm staying at 30,000 feet for this brief talk. What makes up a project? Well, first of all, we think that it has to be organized around significant content. We think about academic content, we think a lot about the Common Core. But the important word there is significant. It's tremendously significant to find safe routes to school. It's tremendously significant to figure out how to diffuse gang tensions. It's tremendously significant to figure out how to design a new playground for a school. But the point is the project's around something. It's got a purpose. It needs to be done. It's a challenge that needs to be addressed. And it provides the opportunity for students to develop 21st century skills. We pick 3. You may have followed this movement. There's 25 or 300, or they include things like sense of humor. We think these are good things, but we don't think that you should waste time developing these things. We think they will sort of take their own course. There's 3 things we think are crucially important for success in the workforce: problem solving / critical thinking.